As the worst energy crisis in modern times unfolds across the United States, tens of millions of Americans are now experiencing energy poverty. Stress supplies and a growing demand amid this summer's blistering temperatures are leading to the highest prices in a generation. While real wages tumbled 3.6% over the past year, electricity prices have shot up 16%, squeezing consumers. Unfortunately, things are about to get even worse for countless families in the nation, with the U.S. facing a looming crisis of utility shutoffs as a record-breaking number of households fall behind on their power bill payments. Businesses are suffering too, and a series of shutdowns are set to occur as energy costs eat a larger share of business profits and consumer spending dramatically shrinks. We have a lot to discuss in today's video, but before moving on, please give us your support by leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to our channel so you don't miss the most important news. There are currently 20 million households behind on their power bills in the United States as surging electricity prices trigger what is said to be the worst crisis ever in late utility payments, according to Bloomberg, citing data from the National Energy Assistance Directors Association. That means about 1 in 6 American homes are late on their energy bills at a time scorching hot temperatures are impacting about 50% of the 48 lower states. In the report, they highlighted that electricity prices have jumped significantly since 2020 after almost a decade of stagnation. The sharp increases resulted in billions of dollars in overdue power bills. At the moment, electricity inflation is being fueled by the skyrocketing costs of fossil fuels such as natural gas, coal, and petroleum. Natural gas is responsible for powering up nearly 40% of the U.S. electric grid. On Tuesday, natural gas prices soared to the highest level since 2008. Since June 2020, natural gas is up a staggering 525%. Meanwhile, electricity continues to rise to a blistering 30% year-on-year. Consequently, more and more people are scrambling to keep up with the rising costs. That's why utility shutoffs have become more common all around the nation, with lower-income households now thousands of dollars behind on their power bills. Jiansu, a senior attorney at the Center for Biological Diversity, which tracks utility disconnections across the country, warned that a tsunami of shutoffs is imminent, given that the highest inflation in 40 years is financially devastating the working poor. At this point, millions of Americans are being pushed closer to disaster, facing the prospect of being left without power amid dangerously hot temperatures. According to Bloomberg, Adrienne Nice is one of those struggling Americans who is more than $3,000 behind on utility bills. Last month, she received a final notice from power company Xcel Energy Inc., who turned off the electricity to her studio apartment in Minneapolis as temperatures approached near triple digits. Nice said it's virtually impossible to save money for utility expenses that have doubled over the past year, considering that food, shelter, and gas prices have also climbed. Her low-paying job as a house cleaner has left her in energy poverty. She stressed, "I just don't understand how electricity can be so high." Several power companies have reported a surge in non-payment customers. In California, PG&E Corporation revealed that there has been a 40% spike in the number of residential customers behind on payments since February 2020. In New Jersey, the Public Service Enterprise Group exposed that the number of customers at least 90 days late has risen 30% since March. The added data shows that as of August 20th, U.S. households owed $16 billion in late energy bills. That is double the pre-pandemic total. The association also noted that the average overdue balance has jumped by 97% since 2019 to $792. The bills just aren't affordable, says Mark Wolf, NEADA's executive director. People on the bottom, they can't pay their electricity bills. In July, the average price of electricity in America hit a record high, $0.166 per kilowatt hour. That is a 4% jump from the prior month and up 16% from a year ago, the Commerce Department reported. Natural gas is the largest single source of electricity generation in the U.S., accounting for about 38% of all power generated last year, the Energy Information Administration said. Prices for natural gas have been soaring worldwide following the Ukraine crisis. Russia is a major supplier of natural gas to Europe, but the Kremlin decided to retaliate against Western sanctions by halting plans to open a key new pipeline and disrupting Russian exports to Europe. In response, the U.S. government have boosted gas exports to European allies, constraining domestic supply and raising prices at home in the United States. Right now, a third of households are finding it difficult to afford the energy they need to heat and to cool their homes, and to provide lighting and cooking. All across the country, low-income families are spending a larger percentage of their annual income, 3 times more on average, on energy costs than non-low-income families. At the same time, inflation is sending the prices of groceries and everyday necessities through the roof, and many households have had to make tough choices about whether to pay utility bills or put food on the table. This crisis comes as no surprise, given that the U.S. is becoming more like Europe, where energy poverty is severely impacting millions of households all across Europe. In fact, in the United Kingdom and all across Europe, conditions are even direr, since most countries rely on natural gas to generate a large share of their electricity. Millions of Britons are expected to pay about 80% more per year on their household energy bills starting in October this year. Last week, the UK's main energy regulator said that another price cap was going to be put in place, representing the new maximum amount that gas suppliers can charge customers per unit of energy. The Daily Mail reported that analysts are expecting the new cap to mean people pay up to 3,600 Great British pounds, that's $4,240 a year, for heating and electricity, and that's up from a cap of 1,200 pounds last winter. The compounding effect of soaring energy bills, rising costs, and rapidly declining consumer purchasing power is leading businesses all around Europe to face financial hardships. A new CNBC article described that the spike in energy costs is killing UK pubs, and that millions of independent businesses in Europe are now struggling to stay afloat amid the cost of living crisis. Business organizations are calling on governments to provide urgent support as their members report increases of 300% on their energy payments. Businesses are not covered by the energy price cap. Hospitality revenues are also being affected as consumers cope with higher prices of everyday essentials. BCC Head of Research David Barrier says businesses face an unprecedented convergence of cost pressures, with the main drivers coming from raw materials, fuel, utilities, taxes, and labor. He added, the continuing supply chain crisis, exacerbated by conflict in Ukraine and lockdowns in China, has further compounded this. Big hotel chains are closing thousands of facilities in Europe as gas and electricity prices dent their profit margins. Restaurants and small businesses are also reporting financial setbacks due to the rise in operational costs. European consumers are rushing to buy generators, portable stoves, solar-powered devices in preparation for another difficult winter. But shortages have already begun. Poorer households are expected to spend almost 70% of their incomes on energy in the coming months. But the European middle class and affluent households are also expected to spend a significant share of their salaries to heat their homes. The United States is likely to see a massive wave of business shutdowns as well over the next few months. In fact, Epic data shows that bankruptcy filings have started to tick back up again. The total number of new commercial and consumer bankruptcies filed in July grew 33.5% over the month prior, according to Epic, with consumer filings increasing by 34% and commercial cases jumping by 26%. Amid rising interest rates, growing inflation concerns, worker shortages, and supply chain challenges, access to bankruptcy is imperative for struggling consumers and businesses. Amy Quakenboss, Executive Director of the American Bankruptcy Institute, said in a statement on Tuesday. Chapter 11 cases, which encompass larger commercial bankruptcies, were up 38% in July over June. Small business bankruptcy filings, known as Subchapter V cases, a new type of filing that went into effect in February 2020 under the Small Business Reorganization Act, hit record numbers last month. Epic said that the 81 cases filed the week of July 21st is the highest weekly total ever for that type of bankruptcy. To make things worse, in August, business activity dropped off at some of the sharpest rates seen since the beginning of the health crisis. The latest S&P Global Preliminary Flash Composite Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, registered a level of 45 as of August 22nd. That's down from 47.7 in July. The rate at which business activity slowed was the fastest recorded since May 2020, when the pandemic shutdowns first took hold, according to S&P Global researchers. This marks 5 consecutive months that the activity index has fallen, and the second consecutive month that it has been in contraction territory. The data is certainly pointing to a downturn at the moment, said Sean Jones, senior economist at S&P Global Market Intelligence. It's certainly going to be a challenging business environment going forward. Colleen Birch, global economist at the Economist Intelligence Unit, added that persistently high inflation has eroded consumers' ability to spend, and ongoing logistical delays and material shortages caused by the aggression in Ukraine are contributing to the drop in output. We expect the impact of rising interest rates to be felt more keenly over the next 6 months, she wrote in an email to CNN Business. In face of all this, it's no wonder why business confidence has hit an all-time low, as the majority of industries expect runaway inflation and a Federal Reserve that's incapable of engineering a soft landing for the economy, leading to revenue declines and staffing cuts across all sectors. The majority of small business owners, 57%, taking part in a CNBC or SurveyMonkey Small Business Survey for Q3 2022, think that the recession is already here, while another 14% predict a recession before the end of the year. Outlook for business conditions in our monthly survey has deteriorated quite a bit from the beginning of the year, outlined Holly Wade, Executive Director of Research at the National Federation of Independent Business. The survey found that 43% of business owners say rising operational costs are the biggest risk to their business right now, up again from last quarter when it was 38%, and the highest this reading has reached in the past 4 quarters of surveys. It certainly has ramped up since the beginning of this year. Most don't see much end in sight or easing of this problem, Wade continued. For their part, U.S. consumers are financially tapped out. They've already maxed out their credit cards, depleted their savings, and have seen their wage gains wiped out due to higher prices of virtually everything. Now they're at risk of losing power and set to face another dark winter. The next few months are going to be exceedingly difficult. Things are already starting to get really crazy out there, and global events are going to accelerate even more once the summer is over. Thank you for watching. We look forward to your comments under this video, and please share this with friends and family.